Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well. Let's see what happened in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, where the delegations from the United States of America and the delegation from Ukraine met to discuss a possible ceasefire and signing the wealth of Ukraine, the resources deal. In the composition of the United States of America was Marco Rubio, the foreign minister, the Secretary of State, and the Treasury Secretary. Now, Marco Rubio is as he is, the other one is as he is. In the Ukrainian delegation, representing the Ukrainian nation, was a Jew, was a Tatar, and a Ukrainian. Good job, representing the Ukrainian nation. Good job. So, there is no doubt that Mr. Yermak is Jew, and then Mr. What's his name? The defense secretary is a Tatar. Only the foreign minister seems to be Ukrainian. Doesn't matter. They're better than you, it seems like. So, a new Minsk Agreement. Minsk Agreement 3. Do you think the Russians will agree to Minsk Agreement 3? I don't think so. So we're going to discuss what these guys agreed upon. Then Marco Rubio wants to see if the Russians will agree to the 30-day temporary ceasefire. The Ukrainians, the guys in charge of Ukraine, agreed to sign the mineral deal as soon as possible with Trump. Then we have Trump who says, I want to talk to Putin about it. Rubio said, we're going to talk immediately because it's an imminent talk on Ukraine right now. And then we have, of course, the reaction of the Russians. All right, so let's see. Let's start with the first article coming from, what's going on here? All right, Associated Press here. And this is what occurred over there. The US resumes military aid and intelligence sharing as Ukraine says it is open to a 30-day ceasefire. What does that mean? 30-day ceasefire. Right here. This is from March 11th, 2025. Kyiv-Washington talks. Ukraine agrees to 30-day ceasefire if Russia also stops. Why should Russia stop? No, Russia would not stop. That's my assessment. Russia will not fall for it again. This will be the third one. Minsk Agreements 1 was the first kick in the balls. Minsk Agreement 2 was the second kick in the ball. I don't think the Russians need 3 kicks in the balls, but hey, we're going to find out. What do you mean we're going to agree if those agree? So what would be the 30-day ceasefire? So let's see. Ceasefire, nobody moves. Let's say we implement this. And then nobody does anything, I'm going to talk. Okay. In the meantime, if both sides get back to rearming, back to position themselves, and after about 29 days, one of these guys, let's say the Ukrainians, say, the Russians violated it, so let's go back to work. So it's a pause to regroup. Why would the Russians want that? The Russians are winning. They're advancing. Why would they want that? And start over while these guys were rearmed for 30 days in peaceful time? Remember, this is for 30 days. What's happening after that? Well, all our meetings and our debates, the envoys from the United States of America and the envoys from Russia will just have this agreement. They will not agree to a peace. Therefore, you lost 30 days. You lost 30 days. Why? It gave time to the guys who were losing to regroup. The Russians will not agree to that. All right, let's see what else is here. So this is from the New Voice of Ukraine. U.S. promises to resume military aid to Ukraine as Kyiv agrees to 30-day ceasefire. So, 30 days, the Russians will not bomb the weapons that are poured into Ukraine. The Americans will bring military for 30 days unharmed. And after 30 days, after a respiro, all right, let's get back at it. Why would the Russians want that? You understand this is not a good deal for the Russians? Why? Because the Americans cannot be trusted. The Ukrainians cannot be trusted. Why the Americans cannot be trusted? Well, let me think. Didn't they say in 1991 that the NATO alliance will not move eastward 1 inch if the Russians agree or the Soviets agree to the unification of Germany? Didn't they say that? I think that was a promise. Oh, you say was no treaty signed? Oh, okay, let me give you another example. Do you remember that the United States of America signed that understanding, the treaty with Iran on Iran deal? Remember, it was Iran, the European Union, the Russians, I think. You don't remember that? What did the United States of America do when Trump came into office in 2016? He said, fuck it, I don't like anything about it. And they backed out, they went out. They say, we don't need it. I'm done with that. I changed my mind. So no, that's not going to be it. Not going to be it. So let's see what the European Commission says, or the president, unelected president, by the way. Ukrainska Pravda, European Commission president welcomes Ukraine-US agreements in Saudi Arabia. Of course she agrees. Why wouldn't she? More weapons. She was the defense minister of Germany. So she works for certain interest. So for her, her industry pouring more weapons in Ukraine, very good. And we're arming in the same time because it's a boogeyman over there called Putin. Therefore, you're caught by the balls, if you had any balls, Europe. European Commission, President Ursula von der Leyen has welcomed the outcome of the Ukrainian-American talks with Saudi Arabia. I wonder what Bangladesh said about this outcome. Nicaragua? I don't know. What did they say about it? Let's say Japan. What did Vietnam say about this? Who cares what the European Union has to say anyway? That's the whole point. You're out. You're out. But hey, they tried to be... They took a shower. It's all sweaty like always. It's useless. But anyway, it's a positive development that can be a step towards a comprehensive, just and lasting peace for Ukraine. The ball is now in Russia's court, she said. No, there's no ball. There's no ball here. Fucking retard. Anyway, let's see what Zelenskyy is going to do about it. New voice of Ukraine. Zelenskyy, Trump agreed to sign mineral deals as soon as possible. Right here, this is Umerov, the defense minister of Ukraine. He's Tatar. This is, I don't know why this guy is over here. I do not know why this guy is over. I mean, I know, but you know what I mean. This is Mr. Yermak. This is a Jewish guy. He's the head of presidential office, a secretary. He just pushes papers and takes phone calls. That's a secretary, all right? And this is the only Ukrainian here. This is the Ukrainian who's the foreign minister, right there, small as a little BB. And here we have this guy, right, Rubio, and he's the treasury secretary, if I remember correctly, right? So let's see what he said. Ukrainian President Zelenskyy and US President Donald Trump have agreed to sign a joint resource extradition. That's exactly what it, extraction agreement as soon as possible, according to a joint statement by the US and Ukraine delegations after the talks in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. But I don't know if they will do it. Why? Because these guys right here, these guys in particular, and I'm pointing out to Yermak, obviously, cannot be trusted ever, ever. Next one. Here is Mr. Rubio, Ukrinform. Rubio hopes Russia will agree to 30-day ceasefire. Why would they agree to that? Why? And what did you give them in return? If you give them a ceasefire, let's say, what's the point? As a goodwill? Is that how it works? I think the Russians ran out of goodwill, acts of goodwill. The one that they did in Kyiv, remember? At the beginning when they withdrew, they were not pushed back. I haven't seen any war over there. When the Russians withdrew over there because they were signing the papers in Istanbul, you remember that one? In Turkey, this guy said, oh, we pushed them back. I want you to show me footage. That one tank that goes into the streets, that was it. All right, Ukraine and United States have taken a positive step during today's talks. This is just a talk. This is just, yeah, we will do it. And what's going to happen in those 30 days? Rearming. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio made his statement while speaking to journalists. All right, a positive state. All right, take this offer to the Russians. Again, I would like to hear, which we don't hear in any of the articles, what will the Russian get for this? Why is it necessary? Why can't they negotiate without a ceasefire? You tell me. Why? Why do they need to negotiate with a ceasefire? If you want goodwill thing, no, the goodwill is gone. Those times were in 2021 in December and 2022 January and February. That's it. The goodwill is gone when we want to discuss with you in peace. Right now is war. What do you mean with ceasefire? we first stop the war and then we negotiate, or how is it? How we negotiate and then we stop the war? Which one is it? Usually someone loses somewhere. Anyway, who's losing here? I think Russia. I think this is the Minsk Agreement number 3. All right, so let's see what the Russians are saying. Russia today says that the US resumes intelligence and military aid to Ukraine, but they want immediate 30-day ceasefire. That's an imbecilic idea, nevertheless. The US has unblocked military intelligence assistance to Ukraine, while the latter has agreed to a proposed immediate interim 30-day ceasefire with Russia, the two nations announced on Tuesday. Ukraine expressed puppy pop, which is subject to acceptance and concurrent implementation by the Russian Federation. You don't give them anything as of now. Thus far, Moscow has not provided any official reaction to the statements made following the US-Ukraine talks in Jeddah. The Russian leadership has previously signaled that any temporary ceasefire deal was unacceptable. Got it? And would only benefit Kiev and its Western backers. 100% true. And I'm calling, the goal should not be a short truce, not some kind of respite for regrouping forces and rearmament with the aim of subsequently continuing the conflict, but a long-term peace based on respect for the legitimate interest of all people, all nations living in this region. Putin said. I would like to know who's more logical, this guy or the baboons that met in Jeddah. Next. Russia today. Trump teases talks with Putin. The US president believes a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine can be achieved. Yeah, after we sign the peace agreements. And not even that. Listen, I don't believe, how should I put it? I don't think that even if these guys are going to sign the documents, a peace treaty, however we want to call it, they will not implement it. We'll see. A treaty could be violated and you start over. It really means nothing. What do you think will happen? You lose face in the world? The Americans should not have any face after they invaded, 5 countries in the past 30 years? Bombarded and so on. So I don't think so. This thing with we're going to sign a peace treaty and everybody's going to be peace, peace, peace. It's not going to mean anything. It's just going to be a piece of paper. That's what, not a piece of paper, or a psst, that kind of peace. I know ideals and values and education, upbringing tells us, keep your word. Those guys are not like that. I remember when Mr. Disraeli, why do I mention him? Because I know a few things about the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Disraeli, a Jewish guy, said, believe me, people in charge of this world are not people like you and I. And I was like, first, you and I are different from one another, but how could those people be? I reached the conclusion not a long time ago that these guys must be criminals, must have a criminal mind in order to be really in charge of great nations. You can't make decisions if you don't have that kind of mind. And look, for instance, at the United States of America bombarding Yugoslavia. The decision to bombard Yugoslavia couldn't have been made by a normal person like you and I. They bombarded. They knew people will die. They knew countries will be destroyed. The invasion and bombardment of Iraq, who could make this decision based on lies? Only criminals. The attack on Libya, the attack on Syria, even in Ukraine. Not to mention, for instance, the decision to drop 2 atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 civilian cities. You gotta have a Remember, and I will always bring this up to you here, Madeleine Albright, the Jewish Secretary of State of the United States of America, of the Americans, when she was asked in that 60-minute interview about the sanctions, US sanctions on Iraq that killed, according to the statistics, about 500,000 children. She was asked if the price was worth paying for those 500,000 children because of the sanctions. And she said, the price was worth paying, yeah. Can you do this? Can you do this? I personally cannot do this. I don't know the circumstances, but really, how can you agree and say, yeah, we're going to impose sanctions on that country. Because of those sanctions will be about 500,000 children dead. And let's say Madeleine Albright was okay with that. criminal mind. You can't be looking at it differently. So, U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he would likely hold phone talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin this week. They use this as this is a big victory or something, like a big breakthrough. We're gonna talk to Putin right now. Woo, man, it's a big breakthrough here. What are you? And Putin is like, these guys should take their little toys and go and play over there in the playground. Really? These are children. What's the big breakthrough? Did you hear what the Russian says, what Putin said? We have no advantage. This is going to only benefit you. Where's the big breakthrough? Why should I agree with that? Right here. Expressing hope Moscow would agree to a proposed 30-day ceasefire. Did you hear anything that the Russians get in return? Because this is, as I said, it's going to benefit the Ukrainians and the Americans and the guys in charge. Trump made the remarks, and I'm quoting. So hopefully Putin will also agree. So if he doesn't agree, he's a bad guy, obviously. And I really think that would be 75% of the way. So if Putin disagrees being in the ass, you know what I mean? That means he's a bad dude. The rest is documented. You know, negotiation land positions. What was I talking about, in the butt? I don't think these guys will do that. And Trump says US and Russia to hold imminent talks on Ukraine. Negotiations will reportedly take place on Tuesday or Wednesday after Kyiv agreed to a 30-day ceasefire proposal. My friends, I don't know. I don't think the Russians will benefit at all, because if the Russians trust these guys again, they're baboons. Baboons. I mean, really. You got screwed so many times before, and now you're going to see. And these guys promote this to all of us as it is a monumental achievement by the diplomacy of Donald Trump and the agreement of, the readiness of the president of Ukraine to make peace. And they are the peacemakers, the ones who actually went with weapons in Ukraine next to the Russians. And the Russians, if they say no, see, the whole world, see, they don't want peace. They're the ones. What are you talking about? Now, how would you call this? Where I come from, as Nick Diaz says, people where I come from get slapped for this. Nick Diaz, the MMA fighter. Yeah, he told Hawani, another. Anyway, the same. People who do this get slapped where I come from. The same here. People who act like this where I come from get slapped. What are you talking about? Yeah, he didn't want, that means he's a bad dude. But you're lying. You're lying. And your media lies. And you have a criminal mind. Remember, the thing in Ukraine occurred when NATO moved 1 inch eastward. That's when it started. That's the war started between the United States of America and the Russian Federation. You're clear? You're clear. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.